Hi everyone, welcome to the course, and today we will be doing one project in React which is our tools. Okay, so what all we have to create over here, I am going to explain you that first. I'm going to show you basically that first, and then we will start with it. So firstly, see what all things we need to add is we have to add these cards, okay, and these data is coming from API, okay. These data are coming from API. So when you click on this read more, user will be able to see the detailed description of the Tor package, and when you will click on show less, it will appear like this. And if the user is not interested, user can just do this, not interested. Okay. So once all the data is empty, there will be one refresh button. Okay. As soon as user will click on this, you have seen that spinner, right? We are going to add that loading spinner so that whenever the data is loading, right, the data has not loaded yet, has not been loaded yet. So at that time, let me just show you what I'm saying is, just switch to responsive mode. Okay, so if you want to slow down your network to see the spinner, just go with 3G and now refresh it. See, this spinner I am talking about, we are going to add this spinner so that when the data is not loaded, user will get to know by seeing this spinner that the data is getting loaded. Okay, so these all things we are going to add in our projects. So let's start with it. Okay, so this is our starter file which I have already set up. Okay, so that I just have to explain you functionality and your time will not get wasted. So here, the thing you need to do is I'll go to cd starter. Just be careful with your file name. See, I knew that I'm doing something wrong. CD starter, and now what you have to do, you have to install node modules, right? Node modules will contain your all the dependencies, your all the modules, sorry. Okay, so npm I, or you can write npm install. So this node module, as I've already explained you in previous lecture, that node module will have all the required modules for the React file. If node module is not there, our React project will not at all. Okay. So once your node module is there, it's installed, what you will do is npm run dev, and it will help the project to get executed. Now see, you can just take this particular thing and obviously it got refresh. Now you are seeing this tours started. Okay. Now why you are seeing this, because I have this app, and when you will go to this app, you have written H2 Tours app. Now look at one thing, which is this particular API. We are going to fetch data from this API for the cards. Okay, it has ID, name, info, image, and price. Okay, so what we require three files. First, you saw that we had that spinner, loading spinner, so we are going to have loading.jsx. Okay, and the another was this tours list. Okay, tours will have all the cards of tours. So you will say tours.jsx. Now there will be one more tour and it will have the single tour. Okay, so let's start with it one by one. Firstly, we have to fetch the data from the API. So let's start. What we are going to do is, first of all, we have to create a state. Which state is, let's say, const tours. Okay, and then we are going to set tours. As you know how we create state, so we have to say use state. Okay, as soon as you will enter it, your state will come. Now we are going to take empty array by default, because you know that we have over here is array. And now what we have to do is we have to create a function. So let's say const fetch tours, because we are going to fetch it. So we'll say fetch tours equals to async. As we have used async, so we are going to use async over here. So in this, what you have to do, you have to get the response from this particular API, right? So how you will write it, you already know, you have done this many times. So you will say const your response equals to, now await means that it will wait until it will fetch the data from the URL. So this fetch is the method, remember, which fetches the data from the URL from the API basically. Okay, after that write const tours. So now this tours will have all the data which we will get in response. So you know that we have to do response.json so that our API response will get converted into JSON format. Okay. After that, once we have got the data from the API successfully, we have to set this stores. Okay. So how you will do that? You will say set tours with your data which you are getting in response. So you will say over here tours. Okay. So if you want to check out your data is there in that or not, what you will do is you will just say console.log tours. Okay. Now we have to put all these things inside try. So let's put try. Okay, and after that, if there comes any kind of error, so we are going to fetch that error. Okay, we are going to print that error basically. So we'll say console dot log any kind of error. Okay, so now let's use our use effect to call this particular function. Now why do we want to use effect? Because as soon as my website loads, I want something to be fetched from this particular API. So you'll use effect inside your function will be there, and you are going to call your fetch tours. We are going to put nothing in dependency array. For now it is going to be empty. So let's see in console what you are getting. See, you are getting all these things in your response. You are getting all the data in your console. Okay, so we have successfully fetched all the data. Now let's reflect it over here on our website. Now one more thing you need to do is you need to create one loading state, const loading, comma, set loading. Now initially our loading state will be true. Why? Because whenever the data loads first time, we need our state to be true. So use state true. When it will be true, then only it will load. Done. Now, when the data is fetched at that time, what do you want this loading to be true? So you will say set loading true. Okay, initially it is true. Now once all the data is fetched, what you will say, set loading to false. Now where you will put set loading to false? Once the data is successfully fetched. So you will say over here, set loading to false. Okay, so your loading will again get stop, and once it will load, then again it will start the spinner. So we'll say if loading, that means if my loading is true, what do I want? I want to return, let's say I want to just return loading. Okay, so let's see what you will see. It's saying loading, and after loading it is successfully showing you everything. See, I think still, see, you are getting loading, but we are not going to show loading over here. Let me just go to this networks and let me see. Yeah, it's 3G. So that's why you are able to show that. You are able to see that loading spinner. Now instead of this loading, what I want, okay, see one more thing with that network only. When the network is 3G, now see, till the time it is loading, you will not see my API is not called. See, as soon as loading will remove, my API is successfully called and you are getting all this data in your response. So as in your console, but I have removed the console.log, so that's why you will not see it over here, but you will see in response. Whenever your APIs get called, you can check it in network. Okay, so this all other response. Again I will set back to, no, let it be. So let's set, so instead of displaying this particular thing loading, I want in my loading to be displayed. So you can just go with RFCE if you want. So here in class name, you don't need to use this. I will say loading. Why I am saying this? Because in my CSS, if you will see, I have already included loading. See, here it is loading. So we are going to use this particular loading so that I can just show you the functionality. Here it is, your loading. Now what you need to do is you will go to this particular thing and you will just call your this loading component over here. Okay, so now if you will refresh this, you are getting this spinner. Now, there is reason why you are getting it like this, because you want to set your is loading to false over here. What we are doing is we are just initially setting up our state to true. Okay, before fetching up the data, we are showing this loading spinner, but after the data is fetched, we are setting it to false. So you can just move this to here also, and we are setting it for our catch condition also. We are setting it to false because we don't want to show our spinner in case of error. So when we are returning, now let's come to this, we are returning our tours starter. In place of this, I want to show my tours list. So what I will do over here is, and let's go to the spinner, you can just remove this, so that particular thing will be removed, the name. And now I want to, yeah, my network is back to. So what do we want? We want to move to our app and we want to set up our tours. So how we'll do that? Let's see. Now in this, you can obviously put a main, or you can use your JSX fragment. Anyone, I am putting up main and I want to call my tours. So let's see if something is there in my tours. It is not. So let's create a function. Okay, so we have over here our component. In this, what I am going to do is I am going to call in my app tours. Okay, so you will call this. What I want to do, I have to pass this tours to this particular component. So I will say tours equals to tours. Okay, so now as this is passed, where we want to use it in my tours. So the props which are passed from tours, I want to get it over here. Okay, done. Now go back, you will see that you have here your tours. Now if you go to your CSS file, which is your index.css, so you will see here is title and here is title underline. So we are going to use these classes in your tours. So we'll say h2 r tours and we'll say class as title. Okay, so you will see that your r tours is here. Now next up is, obviously if you want to use your underline, so you can just go ahead with this div and you can say over here title underline. Let's see if it comes. Yeah, so you got your title underlines. Now what I want this to be used. Now this tours are basically your list of tours. So if I'll show you and refresh it, see, there is a reason why API is called 2 times, because of this inside app, inside main, your main, we have this strict mode, which I'll tell you, you can remove it even, so it will be called once. Okay, so here in this you have all these data one by one, right? These are one single object. Now you want to map through this, you want to map through this array. How you will do that? What you will write? You will basically write your tours dot map, and you will use your tour over here. You will pass basically, and you will return what you will do is you will say that you want tour component to be called, and you obviously want to get each and every tour, so you will say tour dot id. From here the id will be passed, and obviously you will use destructuring for all the tours to get displayed. Now why we are writing this key tour.id? Because our React keeps the track of each and every element. Okay, so we need to use tour.id so that we will differentiate by id one by one, because id is always unique, so it will just print out your all the cards. Now this store is getting error because we have not defined it yet. Let's go to this. Okay, and here we have to, let's go back to this. Now you can just click on this and you will have this tour import, and we have spelling wrong, but let it be. Okay, so you are seeing that it is mapping and it is calling my component how many times? See, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 5 data. There are 5 objects in my array. So that's why it is mapping and it is printing it 5 times. That means my component is being called 5, it being rendered 5 times. Okay. So now let's go to this tour and see what we have passed as id and tour. Before that, I want to do something is I want to put this in one div so that each time my div will get the card form. So I want to put this and I can give this title to this. Okay, and let's have one more div, and inside that we will put this, and let's go to the store and let's see what all we want from this. ID, name, info, image, and price. We want all these things. So we'll put it as a prop. ID, name, info, and I guess image and price. Okay, image, comma, price. So this all the data is coming over here, and we are accessing this prop by this because we want to iterate over all these things. Okay, so here firstly we have to put this, we'll copy this and we'll put it inside this. Okay, it's done. And now in return we are going to put this article whose class name is going to be single tour obviously, and we are going to close this because we are going to have this class name in my css. It's there. Oh sorry, so You will see, if I'll see control F single door, so you will see that I've already given all the CSS. Don't worry about the CSS, you can just give as per your liking, whatever you feel so. So firstly, what do I want? I want to have a image. So let me have an image in which my source is going to be this particular thing, image. Okay, so we'll use like this image, and in alt you can pass the name of the image, or you can just pass the name and you will close it. Okay, and in class name you can just say img. Okay, so see, you are getting all the images over here. Now let's see what else we have to do. We want price also and information also. So we'll say span. In span, I want my price to be there. So tour price is the class given to this price. So you will see that it will automatically put it over this particular image. Now next up is that I want my all the information to be displayed inside the card. So I'll just say div, and to this div what I'm going to say is display the name. Okay, so it will display the name, it will display all the name, which is the name of the tool. If you will see, it is the name of the tours, exactly displaying the same. Now what we want is, we want this information to be displayed. So remember that less more and less, uh, less more and read less. So we are going to create a state first for that. So here write const read more and set read more. Okay, so initially my state is going to be false because I don't want to display my whole of the information. Now what I need to write, I have to use a paragraph, and inside this I want to put a condition. What condition it is going to be? That if we have read more, we are going to use conditional, we are going to use ternary to use to do conditioning. So if read more is true, I want to display my info. If it is false, then what do I want? I want to display only my substring, the small data, small description. For that I want to do like something like this info dot substring. Okay, this is the method, and you have to put the starting plus the ending index. So I want 200 to be there, and we'll use these dot inside it over here like this. Okay, so once you will come back to this, refresh it. So saying that nothing is displayed, so let's see why it is. Okay, so what we are doing is, here is the mistake. We are not calling this particular choose state. So now it is here. Now it should work. See, you are getting all of the things over here. Now to make some amendments, what I want to do is, let's go back, and I want to do this thing. I want to put it inside some, let's say, H3, and put this inside it. Remove this and put name inside it. Okay, done. And now put your closing div. You can go for class name to search over here and tour info is the one. Okay, H5 we need to use, not H3. Let's use H5. H5 over here and tour info to this. So we'll see it got changes here. Now what do I want? I want to have a button. Okay, now let's have normal button. And to this button, what I want to use is, if we have read more, if it is true, then what do I want to show? Read more. Read more, else read less. So let's see what you are getting. You are getting read less. Okay, it's opposite. Let's go with this. This should be read less. This should be read more. Okay, so now you will get over here read more, and you obviously need to give some class name to this. Will go to this particular thing and we'll search for info button is there, so we'll give it info btn. I guess this was the name. Yeah, so we got our this button. Okay, now one more thing we need to do is on click, so that on click whenever user will click on this. Okay, so whenever user will click on this read button, it should display all the information. So on click, what you will do is you will just call your set more, and you will say opposite to read more, because when you will click on this read more, it will show all the details, and when you will click on read less, it will show less details. Okay, I hope you are understanding this conditioning. I have explained you very well in conditional statements. Okay, so now what we want is, we want one more button, which is okay, let's have one more button, and to this we are going to add classes from here. So we'll say info button, delete button, info button, delete button. Okay, let's add that then. Info button, delete button. Okay, anything else? Where is our button? Okay, inside button we have not written anything, so it's not coming. See right over here, not interested. Okay, so not interested button is there. When you will click on this, it should remove. So how it will get removed? Let's see that. Okay, so let's add this button also over here, and you will see that it is like this. Why button? Because we have this button here. I just got to remember that we have button. Okay, here it is. So button we have added, and now what we have to do is okay, let's see. First of all, we have to go back to tours, and I want to give it a class name. Let's go to this index.css and search for tour, all the tour, single tour info, tours. Okay, let's add tours to this, and boom, we got this thing from for here. Okay, and let's do one more thing. We can convert this to section. Okay, and I guess this is enough. We have to focus more on the functionality instead of this. Now what we want to add is, whenever I will click on this next, it should remove this card, right? So let's go to our main app, and in this, what we are going to do is we have to add the functionality of remove tour. So let's create our remove tour. Remove tour equals to, what we are gonna add over here is we'll say, we'll make arrow function. Okay, and obviously we have to pass the id. Because why id? Because this is only represented by unique id. So when I should click on this, it should remove this particular card and should keep rest of the cards. So you remember, one method is there to filter out the elements. Okay, so what we will do is we'll say const new tours equals to, will say tours dot filter, and if my tour dot id is not equals to id which is passed over here, so do what? Basic. Okay, no, we don't have to do this. We have to do is set tours to new tour. Done. Now next thing you need to do is you need to pass this remove tour to here. Remove tour equals to, can just pass it as a prop, remove tour. Done. So let's go to this particular thing and pass over remove tour over here. Okay, and from here to here as in prop. Done. And now let's use this remove tour here. What you will say is, on this button you want to call it now. So on click, what you have to do is you have to call this. You can just put a arrow function inside it, and you can say remove tour, and inside this you have to pass the ID. Why you have to pass the ID? Because of this particular whole card, if you should click on this, it should remove, and now it's not removing. So let's check what we have done, where we have done mistake. Okay, cut. Okay, so let's see, go to this. See, in hurry we have done this blunder that we have passed this thing without arrow function towards, and instead of tour you have to pass tour. Okay, no, sorry, it's tours only, so you have to do this. Okay, and now let's see. Okay, so you have removed whole of these in one go. So let's see where is the mistake. Okay, so here we have directly put the ID. See, when you do things in hurry, this happens. So be careful doing. You know that how we our filter method takes thing is this. You have added this. Now it should be tour. So you want to remove the particular ID. So once you will click on this, see, it is getting removed. So once you have clicked all the not interested cards, nothing is there. So let's handle that case also. So if, I think it would be better if we write it over here. So if your tours dot length is equals to 0. So at that time you want to return, what do you want to return? You want to return a main, okay? And in this you want to have a div, let's say, and you want to say, go to this, let's say you have HP and all. So let's take this paragraph only. No towards left, and you can just give it the class title. Okay, and we want to have a button also, right? So put this button over here of refresh, and on click of this you want to call your fetch tours again. So what you will do is you will say, you don't have to put this even, say fetch tours, okay, for this particular. So now let's see if you will click on this all, what it will give you. It is giving you refresh button, refresh it, all the doors is getting over here. If you want to give a class name, you can just put a button. And once you will see, if you will delete all the non-interested thing, you will get a refresh button, and you can just click on this, you will get all this. Okay, so I hope you have understood the concept that how these things work. Thank you so much, everyone.